My people, hello everyone and welcome to my YouTube channel. On this channel we talk about true crime happening in South Africa and around the world while we are sipping on some bev and having a snack or two. So before we get to anything, please don't forget to subscribe, like, click on the notification bell for any notifications on future videos, and comment down below. So on today's video we will be drinking some Hunter's Gold, and because it's a braai day, we will be feasting on some braai, and we will be talking about South Africa's first amputee athlete to compete in the Paralympics. I am sure that everyone is familiar with that, and we will be talking about Oscar Pistorius today, and it's hectic. We handles. So Oscar Carl Leonard Pistorius. Oscar was born on the 22nd of November 1986, and he was born in Johannesburg, South Africa. He was born to Sheila and Henk Pistorius, and his father is one of the most well-known businessmen in Johannesburg. Oscar's childhood was said to have been one filled with so much tragedy, because he was born without fibula on both legs, and he had to just adapt and adjust to that as a baby. And at ages 6, his mother and father got divorced, so that also played quite a negative role in his upbringing, if I should put it that way. It affected him in so many ways, so it was quite tragic. And after his parents got divorced, that caused quite a strain between Oscar's relationship with his father, and after some time his mom passed away due to drug complications, and these followed after hysterectomy. So besides him having his own physical health to deal with, mentally, as a child, he was not at a good space. It really affected him. And on the right side though, Oscar participated in quite a lot of sports as a child, because he had already mastered how to use his prosthetic legs. He participated in rugby, he participated in cricket, he participated in whatever sport you can think of. So after some time, I think when he was 15 or 16, he got a knee injury, and due to this knee injury he could no longer participate in contact sports like rugby. So Oscar was then introduced to track. Now, if you don't know what track is like athletics, like running, you know, that kind of vibe. And he was quite good at that. He was relatively good at running. And now in January of 2004, he participated in his first 100-meter race, and 8 months later, Oscar was the guy that he thinks he was. You know, he was running with what do they call them? The flex foot cheetahs. which are a fiber type of prosthetic leg, and it was good. The boy was doing the things she knows how to do, and the rest is history. Now, the star made headlines in a totally different light when his longtime girlfriend, South African model Reeva Steenkamp, her body was found in Oscar's house on the morning of February 14th. And everyone is familiar with the fact that February 14th is seen as the day of love, a day to celebrate a love. But in this case, a love turned to murder. On 19th of February 2013, just 5 days after Reeva's body was found, Oscar confessed to Hunter. Oscar confessed to shooting Reeva Steenkamp. Now, my people, this was very sad. It was tragic. I can imagine how Reeva's family felt at the time. I mean, Oscar was like their potential son-in-law, and he was probably their favorite, you know. And now suddenly he's admitting to shooting their daughter, the love of his life. So, no. Now, Oscar says that he had mistaken his girlfriend. Excuse me. He had mistaken his girlfriend for an intruder he thought had entered into his house in Pretoria of South Africa. He thought Reeva, who was in the bathroom at the time, was an intruder, and he just he shot. And sadly, she lost her life just because of an assumption, a thought. Umuntu wathought ukuthi intruder, and it wasn't an intruder. Now, consequently, Oscar faced charges of premeditated murder, which obviously might result in a mandatory life sentence. But he didn't get that. He did not get a life sentence. And his case was one of those cases where you question the mentality of presiding officers that sit at the head of the cases on whether or not their judgment was it fair, was good. On March of 2013, Oscar's trial began. And in addition of being charged with premeditated murder, he had 2 other unrelated gun cases that were to be added onto this case. So those gun incidents were not related to Reeva's shooting, but they were added on top. And he pled not guilty on all charges. How? I don't get it. Oscar's neighbor, I think it's Mrs. Michelle Berger, on the night of February 13th, she said, and she recalled hearing blood striking cries of a woman, and then following that, she heard a man screaming for help 3 times. She heard a scream, she heard a gunshots, and she heard a man scream. So, I don't know. Something is just wrong somewhere. And Prosecutors also recalled, they didn't recall per se. They said during the trial that before the night of the murder, Oscar and Reeva had argued. They had a little fight, and they concluded, the prosecutors, they concluded that Oscar killed Reeva shortly after that argument, which is valid. I mean, there wouldn't be any other reason to kill somebody unless you have argued or maybe had a fight, which is not justifiable, of course, but in his case, the events would then make sense. They argued first, they fought, then he figured, I'm tired of this girl, let me just shoot her. Now, talking about prosecutors, let us take time to appreciate and honor the advocate, Mr. Reeva. He did a superb job. He made this guy break down and to end up confessing to shooting. Although he still was on Roria, no, it was an accident. But Reeva succeeded in making him admit and say it with his own mouth, and I quote, "Say you killed Reeva. Tell us you killed him." And Oscar said it. He said, "Yes, I killed Reeva Steenkamp." That was it. As the trial progressed, Oscar took the stand and he decided to defend himself. He first offered his apologies to the Steenkamp family, before coming clean that he shot her by accident. By accident, when we are just two inside a house, that did not make sense at all. That's the first thing. It did not make sense on how you can live with someone in a house. It's just you two people, and he assumes that you are an intruder, and then he just starts shooting like bullets full. Now, during this trial as well, throughout many occasions, Oscar burst into tears. Mugai can cry for Africa. He cried. Poor guy cried, but nobody was interested in his cries. I mean, a life was taken here. Someone had died because of his accident. You understand? Like, observers were not even bothered that he was crying his eyes out, trying to show people how remorseful he was. Many people didn't believe that he was remorseful, to be honest. I was one of those people. I did not believe that he had any sense of remorse in what he did. There were also some claims that, and this is crazy, my people, this is crazy. There were also some claims that Oscar took some acting classes before his trial began. Now, as a person sitting on the sidelines, you start to question, my brother, you are accused of murdering somebody, of which you know and you said with your own mouth that, yes, you shot at a door, and behind that door there was somebody. But now, during the trial, you go out and take some acting classes. Suspicious. After recess of a few weeks, Oscar's legal team, they came back to court telling the court on how Oscar had, and I quote, a generalized anxiety disorder. Anxiety disorder. Mm-mm. And then the judge ordered for a psychiatrist evaluation, and it was concluded that Oscar did not have any anxiety disorder, according to the psychological report that was released. So the guy was not sick. He was in his right minds. He was Oscar. He was not somebody else. His trial carried on for several more weeks, and on September 11th, Judge Masipa, not the other one, Masipa, Judge Masipa ruled that Oscar was not guilty of premeditated murder, but was guilty of culpable homicide and was sentenced to 5 years. How can a hunter be sentenced to 5 years for killing somebody? In my opinion, that judgment was, it sucked. That judgment, it sucked. It was wrong on all sorts of levels. 5 years. 5 years. And on top of that, Mugai did not even stay long in jail. In October of 2015, Oscar was released. They released him, and they said that he will be just on house arrest to finish off his sentence. This did not sit well with people. You kill somebody, and all you gotta do is just be under correctional supervision. It ain't right. It was not. This brought a lot of division amongst citizens, amongst every other person that was involved in this case. From everywhere, because this was everywhere. Everyone wanted to know how Oscar's trial was going to end up. On December 2015, Top Appeals Court, the highest appeal court in South Africa, they challenged this decision. They challenged this judgment, and they concluded that Oscar was guilty of first-degree murder. First degree. That one. Good shot. On the charge of first-degree murder, the judges concluded that Oscar shot those shots, not minding who was behind the door. He didn't care who was behind the door. All his goal was to shoot. To shoot whoever was, excuse me, in that toilet room. And also, Oscar's reason at the same time, at first it made sense, but the least he could have done was just to at least call on Reeva. Ask her, Reeva, as jy in die badkamer? And then Reeva will answer, ja, liefie, ek is. Simple. Instead of just shooting. Because he said that he was afraid because he did not have his prosthetic legs on. So the only thing that came to his mind when he heard sounds coming from the toilet was to shoot. And unfortunately, those shots, they took a life. and you can't come back from that. You can't come back from killing a person, no matter the justification that you have. You don't come back. On July 6th of 2016, Judge Masipa sentenced Oscar to 6 years imprisonment for Reeva Steenkamp, and this judgment, it was condemned. The NPA, they fought on this case. They condemned this judgment so much, and with valid reason. On November 24th of 2017, shortly after Lifetime, they released an original movie called Oscar Pistorius, The Blade Runner Killer. Ha! Imagine being called the Blade Runner Killer. After they released their original movie, the South African Supreme Court of Appeal, they could not deal with the nonsense no more. They handed over to Oscar a new prison sentence of 13 years and 5 months imprisonment. Now, how fun was that? How happy was Reeva's family at that stage? And upon delivering this verdict, the Supreme Court judge, Mr. Velisiriti, yes, but any of them, Velisiriti, he noted that Oscar, he failed to explain in multiple court hearings why he fired those shots at the door. He failed dismally. And on top of that, he really did not seem remorseful. He did not seem remorseful at all. The only gesture that seemed like remorse was his crying antics in court, but that was it. Other than that, no. Justice Velisiriti also said that the 6-year sentence, that was shockingly lenient, which is true, to a point where it had the power to trivialize other multiple serious cases. This means that cases of such manner, serious cases like murder, rape, assault, GBH, they could be taken lightly as well. I mean, anybody can just stab somebody and they know they're just gonna get what, 6 years, 3 years imprisonment, and that's it. So, in my opinion, I felt that Justice Velisiriti and me, same WhatsApp group, that made sense. And it really had that power, because now every other person that would commit an offense would see, Oscar Mufile 6 years. What about me? You know? So I honestly concurred with what he said. Reeva's family, they said that they have felt at this point that justice has been served for their daughter Reeva Steenkamp, and she could now rest in peace. So it was quite sad, to be honest. This case, it took a long time. I can't even begin to imagine the grief that the family felt, especially after the first judgment of Oscar receiving a sentence here, 6 years imprisonment, and just for culpable homicide, not murder or something else. So now when he finally got a proper and more reasonable sentence. I feel that as much as they say that they've got justice for their daughter Reeva, there was a sense of peace that came into their hearts. Wow, at least today our daughter can rest in peace. She has been vindicated, you know. So yeah, that is it, my people. Please don't forget to subscribe, don't forget to like, don't forget to comment down below your thoughts, and click on the notification bell for any other videos that will be uploaded. And till next time.